my face! I didn't care about your money when you were a mechanic!
You test is the only thing that truly loved you.
Please, Harrison. Look into my eyes. I didn't care about your money when you were a mechanic, and I don't care about it now. Just tell me it wasn't all a lie. Those were the desperate, rain-soaked screams of Ifeoma as she beat her fist against the cold steel of the luxury vehicle. But the man who had slept on her small foam mattress just days ago did not even look at her. He simply raised the tinted glass window, signaling his armed security guards to drag her back into the dark, flooded street. My people, testing a human heart is like playing with a double-edged sword. You might just cut the very hand meant to heal you. Harrison thought he was playing a clever game to trap a gold digger. He did not know he had just set fire to the only genuine thing he would ever own. Sit down, turn off your lights, and listen with your soul. Because this is the story of a test that went too deep. In the high-stakes world of Lagos billionaires, Harrison was a king. At just 34, his tech empire had brought him wealth that could feed generations. But inside his chest lived a profound, rotting paranoia. Every woman Harrison had ever loved had treated his heart like a marketplace, trading their affection for his bank balance, sports cars, and luxury trips to Dubai. Over time, Harrison's mind became a dark fortress. He grew to believe that genuine love did not exist for a rich man. He became obsessed with a single, dangerous thought: if I lose my money, who will stay? Driven by this toxic fixation, Harrison did something radical. He handed the daily running of his empire to his trusted assistant, locked up his mansions, and packed a single ragged bag. He traveled to a sprawling, dusty slum on the outskirts of the city, a place where survival was a daily battle. He rented a tiny, leaking single room that smelled of old wood and rain, took a job as a greasy, low-paid apprentice at a local roadside mechanic workshop, and stripped himself of his name, his perfume, and his dignity. For months, Harrison suffered in the dirt, waiting to catch a greedy soul. But his test truly began on a rainy Tuesday afternoon when a Mercedes broke down outside the shop. The wealthy driver stepped out and ordered Harrison to crawl into the mud to fix the tire, deliberately splashing filthy water all over Harrison's face while laughing. Harrison swallowed his rage, but as he wiped the mud from his eyes, he looked up to see a young woman named Ifeoma standing across the street, watching the scene. Instead of laughing like the others, her eyes were filled with deep, aching sorrow. She walked straight into the rain, handed Harrison her own clean handkerchief, and whispered 3 words that changed everything: do not let them break your spirit. Before Harrison could even ask her name, a loud scream from a dark alleyway made Ifeoma gasp in terror, drop her bag, and run into the shadows. The universe had answered Harrison's prayer, but because his heart was poisoned by suspicion, he treated her kindness like a trap waiting to spring. Harrison tracked Ifeoma down to return her bag, discovering she was a humble teacher who spent her meager salary buying books for orphan children in the neighborhood. For the first time in his life, Harrison experienced a paradise that money could not buy. Ifeoma loved him in his grease-stained overalls. When Harrison lied and claimed he hadn't eaten because his master refused to pay him, Ifeoma would happily split her meager bowl of rice into 2, giving him the larger share. When the landlord threatened to throw Harrison out of his leaking room, Ifeoma secretly took her own savings, money she was keeping to buy medicine for her sick mother, and paid Harrison's rent behind his back, telling him the landlord had simply had a change of heart. For 6 beautiful months, Harrison lived a double life. He was deeply, profoundly in love. He had found the genuine soul he had crossed deserts to find. He began to plan the grand reveal, imagining the look of joy on her face when he would take her away from the dust and place her in a palace of gold. The illusion of their perfect paradise shattered on a Friday evening. Harrison was waiting for Ifeoma outside her house, holding a simple flower he had plucked from the roadside. As he stepped near the window, he heard a deep, aggressive male voice shouting inside her room. Harrison peeked through the curtain and saw a wealthy, notorious local loan shark named Chief Collins standing over Ifeoma, slamming a heavy leather whip against her small wooden table. Collins grabbed Ifeoma by her collar and growled, "Your time is up, girl. If your pathetic mechanic boyfriend cannot pay the debt your family owes me by tomorrow midnight, I will take you as my third wife, and your sick mother will rot in the street." Harrison's blood ran cold as he watched Ifeoma fall to her knees, crying. Yes, she bravely answered, "Touch me or my mother, and the gods will judge you. I would rather die a beggar than betray the man I love." Before Harrison could burst through the door, Chief Collins smiled a wicked smile, took out a dark glass vial, and placed it on the table, whispering, "We shall see what your love is worth when the clock strikes 12. My people, when a man has been bitten by a snake, he runs from a harmless worm." Instead of using his billions to instantly crush Chief Collins and save the woman who loved him, Harrison's old sickness awoke from its sleep. The billionaire's mind began to spin a web of dark doubt. What if this is all a setup? His paranoia whispered. What if Ifeoma found out who I truly am, and she hired this loan shark to act out a drama so I would pay her millions? Harrison decided to push his test to the absolute, dangerous edge. He refused to give Ifeoma a single copper, pretending he knew nothing about the debt. The next morning, Harrison secretly followed Ifeoma to a local restaurant where she had agreed to meet Chief Collins for final negotiations. From a hidden corner, Harrison watched them closely. He saw Chief Collins push a thick brown envelope across the table, an envelope stuffed with cash. Collins pointed toward Harrison's mechanic workshop down the road and whispered something into Ifeoma's ear. Harrison watched in absolute horror as Ifeoma's hands began to shake. She looked toward the mechanic shop, tears streaming down her face, and slowly reached out her hand, gripping the envelope of money. She nodded her head in agreement to the loan shark's terms. Harrison did not wait to hear their conversation. The sight of her taking the money broke something vital inside his mind. His paranoia had won. She is just like the others, he thought bitterly. She traded me for a brown envelope. Driven by absolute betrayal and blind fury, Harrison abandoned his mechanic overalls in the dirt. He called his private security team, stepped into a waiting bulletproof vehicle, and returned to his billionaire empire in Ikoyi. That very night, he passed a brutal decree to his legal team: buy out Chief Collins' entire property company, seize the land where Ifeoma's school stands, and evict everyone by morning. Let her see what happens when she plays with a king. But just as Harrison signed the eviction papers, his phone buzzed with an unknown text message from Ifeoma's phone number that read, "Harrison, please forgive me for what I am about to do tonight. I did it to keep you alive. Curiosity and anger are a deadly combination, my people." Harrison ordered his security guards to track down Ifeoma and bring her straight to his corporate headquarters. He wanted to look her in the eye and shatter her soul with his wealth, just to prove he had won the game. When the heavy glass doors opened and Ifeoma was pushed inside, she froze. She looked at the marble floors, the expensive suits, and finally, her eyes landed on Harrison. She did not see her gentle mechanic boyfriend anymore. She saw a cold, powerful billionaire with eyes like flint. Harrison leaned back in his leather chair, a cruel smile on his lips. He tossed the brown envelope of cash she had taken from Chief Collins onto the table. He told her performance was brilliant, but the game was over. He revealed his true identity, bragging that he was worth billions and that her little drama with the loan shark had failed to trick him. He called her a professional gold digger who had sold her soul for a brown envelope. Ifeoma stood perfectly still as the cruel words battered her ears. She did not cry. She did not scream. Instead, a look of profound, unshakable disgust filled her face. She walked slowly to the table, opened her small plastic bag, and pulled out the identical dark glass vial, the exact poison Chief Collins had placed on her table the night before. Ifeoma placed the vial next to his money and spoke in a voice that shook the entire room with its quiet power. You think your money makes you a god, Harrison? Chief Collins didn't come to collect a debt from me. He found out you were a wealthy man hiding in the slum, and he threatened to poison your drinking water at the mechanic shop if I didn't help him set a trap for you. I took that envelope of money to buy your life from his killers. I was going to use it to send you away from Lagos tonight so you would be safe from his wrath. She took off a cheap, plastic ring Harrison had given her during their time in the slum and dropped it into the center of his gold coins. I loved a poor man named Harrison because he had a beautiful soul, she whispered. But this billionaire standing before me is the poorest beggar I have ever seen. Before Harrison's security guards could react, Ifeoma turned around, pushed past the lawyers, and ran out of the skyscraper into the blinding midnight rainstorm. Which brings us back to that stormy midnight outside the estate gates, my people. Harrison sat inside his luxury vehicle, trying to pretend his heart wasn't breaking as his car drove away from the weeping girl. But the truth is a stubborn spirit, it will always break through the thickest walls of gold. As the car sped down the highway, his tech assistant turned around, his face pale with fear. He played a live audio intercept from Chief Collins' phone that had just been processed by their security servers. The audio filled the car. It was Collins cursing and screaming at his men. The girl took the money but she gave me the wrong poison. She warned the mechanic. Go to her school and burn it down with her inside. Harrison's heart stopped beating. The veil of his paranoia was ripped away in a single second. Ifeoma had traded her own safety, her reputation, and her dignity just to buy his life from a cartel of killers, and he had used his billions to destroy her protection. Harrison screamed at his driver to slam the brakes. He threw the car door open before the vehicle could even stop, running blindly back into the flooded streets of Lagos, his expensive suit soaking in the filthy gutter water. He ran back to the estate gates, he ran back to the slum, screaming her name into the thunderous dark. But he was too late. Ifeoma was gone. She had vanished into the vast city, leaving no address, no phone number, and no footprints. The school had been saved by the neighborhood youth, but the girl who had loved the mechanic had deleted herself from the world of the billionaire forever. Harrison fell to his knees in the middle of the flooded road, clutching a cheap plastic ring, realizing his billions could buy empires, but they could never buy back the genuine love he had crushed in the mud. My people, Harrison spent the next 10 years of his life using his wealth to build free schools and hospitals across every slum in Nigeria, naming them all after Ifeoma. He visited those narrow streets every single week, wearing his old mechanic overalls, sitting under that same lamppost, hoping that the universe would give him a second chance. But the water you pour onto the dry sand can never be gathered back into the pot. How many of us are like Harrison in our world today? How many times have we allowed our past hurts, our deep suspicions, and our paranoia to make us test the people who love us genuinely? We create complex games and dramas to trap our friends and partners, looking for hidden motives, forgetting that trust is like a mirror. Once you crack it with doubt, it can never show a perfect reflection again. Stop testing the hearts that provide peace for your soul. Do not look for grease stains on a clean white cloth, because if you push a good person too far into the dark just to see if they will look for you, they might just learn how to live without your light. If the story of the billionaire's test shook your heart tonight, then you already know this channel is your true home. hit that subscribe button right now, and turn on your notification bell so you never miss our weekly journeys into the deep wisdom of human nature. Leave me a comment below and tell me, if you were Ifeoma, would you ever forgive Harrison, or did his wealth deserve to be left in the rain? I read and reply to every single comment. Until the next story, stay safe, stay wise, and remember that the most expensive thing in this world is a genuine heart. See you in the next one. Bye for now.